Hi everyone, and welcome to Build Smarter Workflows with Notion AI. I'm super excited to share this with you all today. And while we get started, feel free to type into the chat where you're from, how long you've been using Notion, have you tried Notion AI, and if you've already used it, what's your favorite agent hat? So the first thing I'm going to go over is today's event itinerary. So I'll be doing an introduction, and then I'll go over why use Notion AI, and then Notion AI basics, and then followed by Notion agent, a Q&A session, and then I'll show you how to download freebies and more. So let's first start with the introduction. So the Organized Notebook specializes in designing Notion templates that help you optimize your workflow, organize data, and increase productivity, as well as provide custom design and consultation services. My name is Sara, and I've been doing this since around 2022, and it's been really exciting to share about Notion with all of you. It's really made a huge difference in my business productivity as well as personal productivity. I just really love how Notion is such an all-in-one tool that can allow you to do so many things and also build with it. And in today's session, I'm really excited to cover a lot about the Notion AI basics as well as the Notion agent. And be sure to check out the website and template store. There's a lot of freebies and free resources for beginners to also get started with Notion. So I'm going to go ahead and also put that into the chat. And a few notes about the event. Feel free to add your comments and questions into the chat. Please keep the conversation respectful and about the event. There is a lag with the chat, so I may be delayed in answering your questions, but please type them in and I'll make sure to go through them at the end or during the session if it makes sense with what we're covering at the moment. And just a friendly reminder, this chat is for discussing about this event and Notion related topics. Messages not related to these will be moderated and removed if needed. So the first thing I wanted to cover is, in general, why use Notion AI? And there's so many features now that I'm not going to be able to cover all of them in just this section, but I hope that you'll be able to see all the use cases by the end of this session. So the first reason to use Notion AI is just the improved writing and personalized experience that you can have with Notion AI. So you can assist in drafting, editing, and refining content, helping to create a more polished documents based on your voice and tone. And even more with this Notion agent, I think it's really helpful with writing. And even if you feel like maybe some of your own personality gets lost when you ask AI to write things, I think that there is a way to use AI with just, for example, editing and also letting you know how to revise things. So it's really out you can do with it. Welcome, Igor. Nice to meet you. So yeah, I think that the writing and personalized experience with that is really important with Notion AI. The other thing is the quick summaries and AI properties. So I think that with the Notion agent, it's kind of becoming more important than actually the basics of Notion AI that Notion has already implemented, that I also think that is really important to know about. And that's that there's so many AI properties, and also you can do quick summaries of really long documents so that you can just glance over what you actually have in your databases without having to open each one up. And then there's also idea generation. So you can provide prompts and suggestions to spark creativity. And sometimes just being stuck with a blank page can be really difficult. But with Notion AI, I think that you can really ask it to brainstorm for you as well, which can spark some new ideas and discussions that you might not have thought about before. And then the fourth one is that you can let Notion AI do some of your work. So Notion AI can also now directly edit your pages and databases. It can also remember your preferences. So this is a really big part of this new update. And it's just that you can basically chat and ask it to do various things. But one thing to remember, I think that with Notion agent, is that it's still important to know the basics of Notion so you know what to ask your agent to do. So especially if you're a power user, I think that it can be a super helpful tool so you know how and when you want to use that AI instead of just asking it to do vague things that you might not necessarily know how to use. Then there's also analysis inside of Notion itself and various AI connectors. I've had a lot of fun with this. I can just ask Notion AI to analyze my entire sort of business dashboard, give me some ideas, and that has actually been really helpful so I can look at things from a sort of broader perspective. So those are some of the reasons to try out Notion AI, and there's a lot more that's coming soon as well. So the first thing I'm going to be covering in this session is just going to be the Notion AI basics. So most of these features have actually been around for a while now, and these are features that Notion implemented before Notion Agent that you can incorporate into your databases, your pages, and it's kind of the basics. And I also think that it's important to know about these because they can also be really helpful and great to use. So the first thing to know about Notion AI is basically the keyboard shortcut. So anywhere you are in Notion, and if you have Notion open right now, feel free to follow along with this as well. But you can type /AI, and then you'll see all of the options for AI, like AI meeting notes, AI block, and you can ask about this page, and you can just use some of these AI tools directly from here. The other keyboard shortcut is Command or Control J. I think that this one is better to remember, so you can always pop up Notion AI just like this. And it already suggests various things that you can do with it as well. So this is basically really important if you want to call up Notion AI wherever you are. So that's the first thing to note. And then the next thing I wanted to go over are AI database properties. And this is something that previously it was a lot more obvious how to add AI database properties, but I think that now it's a little bit more hidden. So it's really important to learn how to add these in. So the first thing I wanted to cover is adding a summary property. So AI summary property. So let's say that you have a sample resources database. And I just have some content inside of here just to fill the page. So this is just about AI in general. And you have a lot of resources and you want a summary text so that you don't have to open each one. So the first thing you would do is click the plus add property. And for the summary, you're going to need to click the text option here. And once you have a text property, let's go ahead and call this summary. Then what you can do is set up the AI autofill, and you can choose an option on what to fill it with. So you have the choice for summary, translate, key info, and custom autofill. So in this case, I'm going to click summary, and then you can use whether or not you want auto update on page edits. So that means that whenever you edit the page, the summary would also get refreshed. And I think in general, that's really useful. So I'm going to turn that on and I'm going to save changes. And I'm going to turn on auto update. And now I have my AI summary property. And how you know that it's an AI property, it's going to have that AI tag next to it. And you're able to click this button to update it. So if I click it now, it's going to summarize my text inside of here like this. So I think that these are really useful to add to your Notion databases if you don't know about these AI properties. So besides summary, there's also key info. So I'm going to also add one of those. Again, for key info, you're going to want to use a text property. So we have a text, and then I'm going to name this key info, set up AI autofill, and then fill with, and then I'm going to choose key info. And then when I choose key info, it's going to ask me what kind of key info do I want to extract. So for example, this one, I want the key topics in bullet points. And the more you're very specific about what you want, the more likely you'll get what you want in this property. So I'm going to save changes, turn on auto update, and I'm going to click update. So now it gave me the key info of what's inside of here. And I can do that for all of these as well, like this. And if I make significant changes, it's also going to update those automatically with these settings. The next thing I'm going to add is the translate. So translates can be really useful as well, especially if you're learning languages or you're working with people from different countries and languages. You can easily translate some of your database items. So if I go here and then I do text again, and then what I can do, click here, set up AI autofill and fill with translate. So I can translate the different properties here. And if I choose all of them, it's going to translate all of them. But I can do, for example, just the summary. And then I can translate that to, let's say, Spanish, like this. And then I can save changes, turn on auto update. And I'm also going to rename this summary in Spanish. So now we have the summary that's going to be translated to Spanish. So now we have various AI properties already. So we've covered summary, key info, and translate. The next thing I wanted to showcase is the AI autofill with select and multi-select properties. So far we've only been working with text, and for AI properties, you can only use text and you can only use select or multi-select. And so if I click here and then I choose multi-select, and let's say that I want to have Notion AI auto tag, then I can put tag here and then set up AI autofill. And then if I go to the AI autofill here, I can turn this one on, and that's going to allow the AI to actually generate tags for me. So I can either have it generate new options, or I can have them use existing options. If you're working with tags, I might recommend the way where you have already pre-created tags, so you're not faced with 40 different tags that you have to deal with. But for now, I'm going to just have it generate my options. So it's going to be how it is, and then I'm going to click update. Let me try again. Seems like it's slightly malfunctioning right now. Let me check again. I need to turn on generate new options. So there we go. Should work now. And now you can see various tags. Ooh. Yeah, so now we have the tags. And then I'm going to add the select property type now. So if I go to select, so select property means that you only have one type. So in this case, let's say that I want to have the type of resource here. So resource type. And instead of having to fill them in myself, if I set up the AI autofill and then turn this on, generate new options. And then if I click update, now it shows educational resource. So it started tagging them with a type of resource. So that can also be helpful. And I think the more that you add here, it makes more sense when you use these kinds of tags. And what's useful is that then you can actually create charts and various views with the databases. So I think that this is really useful to have these AI tags. But I also have seen some people who've used this and it just creates 50, 60 tags that it might be overwhelming. So it depends how you want to use this. Then we have the AI custom autofill. And I think that this one is the most versatile because you can actually set an exact prompt that you want. So if I click here, in this one I'll do text. And then if I click here, and let's say that I want a short summary. So the official summary that the summary AI property generated was really long. So if I wanted a short summary, I could set up an AI autofill for that. And then when I select the option, I'm going to do custom autofill. And then I'm going to type exactly what I want. So I want maybe 20-word summary about this page. And then save changes, turn on auto update, and I can update this one. So now you can see the document explores AI's definition, applications, advantages, challenges, and future implications across various industries and society. So if I go back, you can see that the long summary was really long. So it can sometimes be better to use this AI autofill with the custom prompts. You can also use it in a way, for example, if I put another one here and I put review questions. So you can even have it generate review questions. So this is useful in like a notes database. And then if I go here, set up AI autofill, select an option, and I'm going to do custom autofill. I can ask it to generate 5 review questions based on this page. Save changes, turn on auto update, and I can try on this view. So now it's generated review questions for me. What are the key definitions and concepts of artificial intelligence as outlined in the introduction? So you can really use this for study as well. And there's really a lot of use cases for this the more you use it. So those are the AI database properties. So I would suggest looking at your own task, project databases, any kind of databases that you use. Also book databases, those could be great for this as well. And see where you might want to add a AI autofill property if you think that that could be useful for your database. So next we have in-page revisions and writing assistance. So I think that this is another thing that people might overlook, or if you start feeling like you're using AI too much, it can be good to just write it out yourself. And then what you can do with Notion AI is to highlight your text. And when you highlight your text, it's going to show this prompt here. So ask AI. And I can click ask AI. And let's say that this text has quite a lot of misspelled words. So I could ask it to mark misspelled words in red and show correct spelling in parentheses. So if I do this one, now you can see all of the spelling mistakes that you have along with the correct word that's spelled correctly. So you can start to actually learn from your mistakes and write even better. So that's one way to also use Notion AI, is to use it as a revision tool and also as a writing assistant. So if I could insert this text below, and now I would have a version where I can check all of my incorrect words here. Another thing you can do is, for example, you want to make this sentence even longer. I could ask AI and I could make it longer. And then accept. And now the text has gotten longer. And so you can do quite a lot with this highlighting and asking AI various things. It's really up to your way of working with AI. But I think that this can be a really good assistant especially if you're trying to write long text. The next kind of AI that you can use in Notion is AI blocks. And I think that this is actually really cool because Notion is a block-based tool, and the fact that you can add a whole block called Notion AI's block is really cool to me. So how you can do this is type /AI, and then you can do AI block. And the AI block has been around for a while now, but Notion has improved on it quite a lot, more than before. And now when you add an AI block, you can do a custom output, you can do a page summary, and you can do key points. So custom output, just like the custom AI autofill, basically allows you to add a prompt here that you can continuously generate. So what I find really useful with this AI block is, for example, if you have a page of information and at the top of the page, you just want a summary and you want to update it whenever you feel like it needs updating, but you don't want to change the prompt itself, I think that the AI block can be really great. And it also kind of melds into Notion's aesthetic, which I think looks nice. So let's say I choose page summary and it's using my current page only for page summary. Then I can click done and I can click generate. So now we have Notion AI basic summary, and it basically summarized this entire page. And I've seen that there's some new people here. Welcome, Notion newbie org team from Thailand, and Keith. If you can explain what you mean by can't access site. Are you unable to access Notion at the moment? So now we have the Notion AI basic summary here, and what you can do is always generate it. So when your information changes, you can also generate it. This is great for team sort of pages with a bunch of information. So you can always have a summary at the top, for example. And this works as a block, so you can move it around. And I can delete this now. So that's one way to use AI block. The other way to use AI block is as a database template to store prompts. And this is something that I also really like about this feature, is that sometimes you want to access a specific Notion AI prompt when you're in a specific Notion page. So let's say that you have a brainstorming database like this, and then when you're brainstorming, you also want an action list after you're done brainstorming. So for that, you can add a new template, and I'm going to call this one new brainstorming. And you can basically build this AI block into the page itself. So if I have heading 3, and this is my brainstorming and /divider, and I would have some brainstorming here. And here I would have my action list. So action list /divider, and then I'm going to add my AI block. So for this one, I would do custom output, and I want to have an action list based on this page for brainstorming. And here you can choose your current page only, but you can also choose, for example, specified content. I'm going to go over this after I've added this as a template, but basically now it's going to save this specific prompt inside every new page that you create for your brainstorming. So I'm gonna have this one, and I'll click done. And then if I click out, and then I'm gonna set this one as the default. So now let's say that I'm going to go into brainstorming. I open it up, and I'm trying to think of a new Notion template. And let's say that's something that would help small businesses. And then let's say that I want to generate this. So now you can see that it saved my prompt to create an action list based on this page for brainstorming, I can just click done, generate, and it's going to generate me an action list. And if you're not happy with this action list, you can always generate it again. So this is a great way to just save prompts. So you don't have to constantly think about, oh, what was the prompt that was really useful here? If you have a prompt you always use after your brainstorming, you can just build it in to your Notion as a database template. So that's how I would use AI block. And then one other AI block feature that I wanted to cover, and this is quite new, is that when you do the custom output, you can not only use the current page that you're on right now, but you can also do specified content. And you can reference a whole number of pages here. So let's say that you have a company team home and you want to reference various tasks, projects, all of these things, so that you have a centralized block of text that explains everything going on. You could actually add that all in here. The other thing you can do is have it search through Notion and also, for example, Slack. So your Notion AI connector, Slack, can also be one way to gather information through your AI block, which I also find really cool. So be sure to try out AI block. I think that there's quite a lot you can do with it. And yeah, I find it a very useful tool. The next one I wanted to go over is AI meeting notes. And before we go into AI meeting notes, I also wanted to go over the settings in AI meeting notes. So you might not be aware of this, but there are some settings that you should check for your AI meeting notes. So if I go to my sidebar, and then if I go to settings, and then Notion AI, and then I go to AI meeting notes, these are some of the settings that you should be aware of for AI meeting notes. So workspace availability. So whether or not you want to allow everyone in your workspace to access AI meeting notes, whether or not you want to allow members to temporarily store a local on-device copy of their meeting audio, and then also default meetings database. So if you want the AI meeting notes to end up in a certain database, you can set it up here so that it always appears in the correct database. And then there's also automatic transcript deletion. So this is for even higher plan. I'm on the business plan at the moment, but you can also do auto deletion timing. So be sure to check out these AI meeting notes settings before you use it. And to access AI meeting notes, all you have to do is type /AI. You can get AI meeting notes. And typically it already comes with the meeting with @today, so that it's going to show the timestamp. And all you have to do is start transcribing by clicking the button here. If you have it connected, it's already going to ask you whether or not you want to add your AI meeting notes when you start like a Zoom call, something like that. And there's also these settings here, so you can choose the language, the format. So if it's a sales call, stand-up team meeting, you can set that up here. You can also play a consent message and do all of these things. And then you can simply just start transcribing, and it's going to start transcribing the AI meeting note here. So you can see that while I'm talking, it is actually showing the text here. And when it's going to stop, it's going to sort of summarize that meeting. So I like this, that it's built into Notion instead of having to use a bunch of other tools. And I also like that I don't have to have them enter my meeting. So with a lot of other AI meeting tools, they actually enter as a participant, which can be kind of annoying, especially if you have 10 people in your call and then 10 AI assistants also in the call. So you have like 20 people in your call. I think that this makes it a lot easier to use. That being said, some of the downsides or limitations with the AI meeting notes is that it doesn't show who the speaker is, and it's not going to sort of analyze who's speaking in the transcript. So if that's important, that might be something that you should consider as well. So if I stop this one, now it's going to give me a summary here by understanding the transcript. So I see in the chat, I currently have Notion Plus with AI included. Do I need to upgrade to the business plan for these AI features to work? So you should check about this, but I did get a question like this before, and I think you're really lucky that if you have that AI add-on for now, you should be able to use your AI features, continuing to use that AI add-on. If you join later, then unfortunately you do need the business plan, but now the business plan also includes AI. So in some ways it's a pretty good deal as well. But yeah, I think Miguel, you don't need to you should be able to access all of your AI features. I'm not really a Notion mobile user primarily, so I'm not 100% sure whether or not it works directly from mobile. So if anyone is using it on mobile, feel free to let me know if this is something that is currently working. I just know that I've been using it primarily on desktop. So here we have summary, notes, and transcripts. And then the other thing you can do, so if you don't want to build in only one database that you can connect to the settings here. So as you can see here, you can connect it to a database to store your new AI meeting notes. You can also already pre-include that into a database template. So if I click here, I'm going to delete this one, and plus new template, new meeting note, and then I add /AI meeting note, and then click out, and then I add this one set as default for all views and meetings. Then what we can do is just click this one, and then it's going to open up, and every new meeting you add to here is always going to have a meeting note inside, so you can just start transcribing it. The one thing about doing this method versus the other method with the settings is that you can add more context here. So let's say that this is part of your client portal, things like that. You can add way more context inside of here. So I find that really useful. So that's the AI meeting notes. And I think that they're still improving this feature. So this should improve over time as well. The next exciting AI feature is the AI formulas. So I think that formulas were one of the more difficult things inside of Notion for a lot of people. And now it's actually really easy to add custom formulas to your Notion databases. And to do that, you do need a formula property. So I'm going to go ahead and click here and add a formula property. So let's see here. So we have formula property here. And if I click inside of the formula, you can see that you can write, fix, or explain a formula. And this is a task database. So let's say that I want to see mark overdue tasks that are not done as overdue in red and bold. And then I can type enter, and Notion AI can actually generate that formula for me. Let me try again. And now if I click done, and let's say that it's here, it's going to show overdue. And what I also like is that it adds comments here about whether or not about how the formula works. So I've actually myself been really comfortable with Notion formulas, but with this AI formula, I've been able to learn even more and kind of see new ways of writing formulas. So I actually really like this feature. Even if you're really good with formulas and even if you're new with formulas, I think that this is a really easy to use feature. And then I just had some general tips about the basic part of Notion AI. So if you're using AI blocks, it generally applies to the whole page, even the properties. So be careful what you add there if you want accurate results. Keep generating if you're not happy with it, and ask specific requests when using prompts. So bullet points, how you want to format it, the tone. The more context it has, the better answers that you get. And then finally, I wanted to share with you all some Notion AI templates that are over on the store. Currently, there's a 40% discount with code SEPT40 during checkout. And I'll just give you a quick preview of how the Notion AI can be built into templates as well. So I think that this is also a really interesting example. So here we have the note-taking AI-powered template. And one thing you can notice here is that I've built in the short summary, an action plan, and review questions. So whenever I open the note, I'll be able to see the notes with its own action plan, review questions, and short summaries here. So I think that building in AI into templates is also really powerful, and it's something to also consider as well. So I just quickly checked also how the AI meeting notes work on mobile, and it seems to be working if you allow microphone access, but it might be a little bit buggy, as Notion AI can sometimes be a little bit buggy, but I think it should work. So yeah, be sure to try it out as well if you want to try that. And welcome, Christopher from Australia. Nice to have you here. So next we get to the exciting part, which is Notion Agent. And I just also want to preface by saying that I think that knowing the basics is also really important before you start asking your agent to do all kinds of things. I don't know about all of your how experiences have been with Notion Agent, but for me, the primary use case of Notion Agent has just been to speed up the things that I was already doing. And the first step, I would say, for Notion Agent would be to check your Notion AI settings. So let's go ahead and check through all of these. So if we go to the Notion AI settings, we just went there for the meetings. I go to settings and then to Notion AI. The first thing would be the AI connectors. And this is something that I've actually found really useful with Notion AI is these AI connectors. So I can have my Notion AI access my Notion Mail, my Slack, and you can also add all of these as well as connectors. So that means that you have one central place without having to set up anything complicated, that you can just ask your Notion AI questions about with various contexts from all kinds of other tools. So I've been able to draft emails, for example, directly with my Notion AI, and it's given me information about things that I need to keep track of that I can ask it as well. So I like these AI connectors, and I highly encourage checking them out and connecting them if you're interested. The next thing is the AI web search. So you can enable web search for the workspace, and you can also require confirmation for web requests. So if you don't want it to always keep accessing the internet for information, you can also turn this on so that it actually asks you beforehand. But generally, I've really liked the web search aspect because the main problem with AI before is that it was running off of really old information. So the fact that it can access current information is a huge game changer. So be sure to check out your AI settings. Once you've checked out your AI settings and connectors, the AI web search, let's just do a really quick tour of the chat window. So there might be a few things you haven't really noticed here. So in the chat window, you can mention a person, page, or date. So you can ask context about it. So I could do something like this @Notion Agent page and then ask questions about it. And here you have context. So That's the main context that when you ask it questions, it's going to be checking. So if you're on Notion Agent page, then the context is likely going to be Notion Agent, but you can remove that if you want a general perspective. So it's important to know that this part is the context. And then the other thing is that you can attach files. And I've had success here as well. If I attach images, let's say that I have an Instagram post, I could attach an image of the Instagram post, and then it can help me come up with a nice caption for it. So it can do pretty well with analyzing images and PDFs. And here you can see the AI model. So right now it's Claude Sonnet 4, GPT-5, and you can specifically choose which one to use. And one thing I like about Notion AI versus simply chatting with Claude, I also use Claude, but there's a limit if you're on the Pro plan with Claude. But when I'm using it with Notion, I can continue to chat with it, and it can also use existing knowledge that I have put in here. So I like that even though it's using these AI models, it can be a very seamless experience. And then there's also sources. So for the sources, if I click here, you can turn on apps and integrations, all sources I can access. You can choose various team spaces, Slack, Notion Mail, Help Center, and connect even more apps. So you can control what it's actually using during your chat with it. So that's the quick tour of the chat window. So now let's go over what makes the Notion agent special. So it can get context about your workspace and connectors. So for example, you can ask it, gather various sources and tell me a brief report about anything happening in Slack, Notion, everywhere. You can do something like that. You can build and write in databases and pages, and it can be personalized and remember past interactions as well. So I've seen some of you all type in my video that I shared about the Notion agent, and yeah, it seems like everyone's having fun customizing it. So I think that that's a really fun part about Notion Agent. No longer is it just, the same for everyone. You can actually make it your own. So what can Notion Agent build? And this is actually pretty interesting. So here I also wanted to mention that it can't build everything. So there are some limitations with Notion Agent, but let's ask my Notion Agent here. Showcase all blocks that you are able to create in Notion in this page. And then you can get a brief overview of basically what can Notion AI actually do inside of a page. So one thing about this is that it can take some time to actually generate this kind of text or databases in Notion. But let's see what it has. So already it's doing a block showcase here of headings. And if you click here, you can see all the updates as well. And then if you want to undo the action, you can always click the undo here. So it can do headings, it can do text styles, it can do lists, to-do lists, toggle blocks, quotes, callouts, dividers, columns, tables, code, math, media embeds, YouTube, audio, and all of these. So database inline. Some of these aren't working as well as it could. So you can see here, it did create a synced block. Meeting notes seem to have not worked actually. Block. So this is the database it created. So it can create databases. I found that useful. I've tried it also to create relational databases as well. And I've had it work. Sometimes it kind of glitches a bit, but yeah, you can definitely try to have it create databases. You can mention things and colors. So there's really a lot you can do with it. So if I briefly go over the limitations of what Notion agents can't build, I would say that would be forms. So that's a big one. You can't ask it to just generate a form at the moment. But most things you can have your Notion agent create. So I don't think it can create AI blocks, and it can't do advanced automations as well, and buttons. So the next step is setting up your agent instructions page. So if I click my Notion AI over here, and then I click the icon, you can first choose any kind of hat. And I like to change this up. I think these are really fun. I think Notion did a great job with personalizing the Notion AI. And you can name it, and then you can set up instructions for it. So if I click set up instructions, I can either create my own, I can choose one of the available ones, I can even browse templates, I can use an existing page. So I'm going to go with minimalist. And when I click minimalist, you can see here that it's being used as my Notion AI's instruction page. The contents will influence its behavior. So when it has this, you can see that it's being used as your AI instructions page. And if I go to the sidebar, you can also see that the AI instructions mark here that it's being used like this. And just to make it clear, I'm actually going to move my instructions page into here. So I'm going to drag this one here. And one thing about the AI instructions page is that it basically acts the same way as a Notion page. So I think that this is also really clever. You can write however you would with a Notion page. You can add databases in here. I wouldn't recommend adding databases directly into here, but you can also do that. You can add multiple pages in here that it can reference as well. So there's really a lot you can do with the Notion AI agent instructions page. And to set it up, some of the things I would recommend. So most likely the reason you would want to use a Notion AI instructions page is to give it some context on how you want to be talked to, for example. So the agent identity. So here you can type even more, like you could ask it only talk with me in lowercase letters, or if you have a way it wants the AI to have some kind of personality, you can definitely add that here as bullet points if you like, or just as random text if you want to ask it that. There's also the chat interaction. So this is just a template, but what I would really suggest in almost every AI instructions page is to add a section for what databases it should add to or interact with. So let's say that I primarily want to use my Notion agent to add projects and tasks, as well as generate reports for me weekly about the project status. So here I've built a tasks tracker, a projects database, and a weekly reports. So what I can do is in the instructions page here, I can ask it to only edit and reference the following databases. And then what I can do here is that I could copy link to this view, paste it in, and then I can copy the link here, paste it in, and then I can copy the third one, which is the report here. Paste it in, and then I can also tell it additional context here. When creating weekly reports, use the tasks, projects, databases to give an overview of that week and put them in the weekly reports database. So now I have some instructions here, and no matter where I am, as long as I'm using this AI instructions page, I can actually have it edit these databases. So let's say that I'm in Notion agent page here, but I can ask my AI agent Sally here, now that it has the instructions, to create a project for website design and add 10 tasks for that project. And then I can click enter, and it's going to, or it should, add those tasks into the tasks database and the projects database. So one thing I also like about this Notion AI is that it's giving you context on what it's doing. So you can see what it's thinking about, and can kind of follow the whole process. So now it's updating my tasks tracker. It created a page, website design. And now you can see exactly what page it created, the linked tasks in the task tracker, and it can even add dates for me, priority or assigned tasks. So now if I go to my task database here, you can see all of the tasks that it just created. And you can also see the website design here. So it's pretty useful if you want to have it generate tasks and also workflows. And since this was a very vague request to my Notion agent, if you have a specific, for example, every time you have a design project, you have certain kinds of tasks, you can actually even write them out here. And it should follow those instructions when creating the tasks. You can even give it already what kind of assignees. So this task should go to Jim and this task should go to another person. Then you can already map that out inside of your AI agent instructions page, so that when you do ask it to generate these tasks and projects, then it would already know who to assign it to. So those are some intricacies that you can even add to your agent instructions page for the future. So that's something to also consider when designing your instructions page. The other thing is that it's going to automatically capture preferences as bullet points as they come up in the conversation. So let's say that I want Sally to be a bit more friendly when talking to me. So next time, be more friendly. Then it should update this page to reflect that as well. So here you can see the preferences that have been captured. And of course, you can type out your own preferences as well here in advance so that it really knows everything it needs. So I would recommend having a AI instructions page and kind of build it out. And one thing I wanted to next go over is I've had people ask about what if you want multiple instructions pages. So if you want multiple instructions pages, you can definitely do that. So you can mention multiple instructions pages in the instructions page and have a master instructions page. This is the way that I would maybe recommend using it if you really want to keep each of your agents' instructions separate. So let's say that instead of minimalist, we would put this into another page that would be the master instructions page, and then you can ask it to always ask you which instruction page to use before starting. So just by adding that, it's going to ask, do you want the minimalist one? Do you want the other one? And you can give it the correct one that you want to reference. So I would recommend doing it that way if you have multiple instructions pages that you're kind of working with, or you can just have one that covers everything. And for me, that's worked the best, that I have different pages inside of the instructions page, but for the most part, it's just one agent instructions page, so I don't have to deal with too many of them. So that's how I would recommend with the agent instructions pages. And with this, I also wanted to mention that you can use Notion agent instructions templates. So I think this is also really cool. So you can use a pre-existing template to be your Notion instructions page. And for this, I have this one that I've published for free called Content Writer Assistant. And I can just show a brief example of how this one works. So I designed this one so that there's agent rules. So for example, I wanted to ignore the text in the yellow callout boxes because I designed this as a template and I don't want the AI agent to kind of read these. So I've already put this here, the rules. And whenever you want to edit this page, ask for permission, make sure to let me know what you intend to do. So I don't like when the agent just randomly does stuff unless I know how it works. So I put this in. So you can definitely add your own rules here. And then the personality, the content writing, voice and tone, the way if you're using Notion AI to help you write content, it's really important to have a tone and voice on how it should write for you. So you should definitely fill this out with brand for voice and tone. You can describe your brand niche and business description so that it knows more about you. And then this part is interesting, the content creation rules. So for example, for YouTube, you always need to add tags. And what I've had Notion AI do for me is that it can search the internet for current best practices from the internet on YouTube tags, because the algorithm always changes and there's all kinds of best practices out there. I think that this is cool that you can ask it for current advice, and then you can generate it based on the prompt that I give. I've also put into my own one a template on how I want my YouTube descriptions to look like. And for the most part, it's actually followed that based on the title that I give it. So the YouTube descriptions are a lot easier to create as well. So you can give it very specific rules here. So I just filled these in, but you can of course change these depending on how you want to draft things. So blog writing, newsletter, and then also where to store generated content. So you can reference your content database in here so that then the drafts would go directly into that content database, and then references materials that you might want it to see before crafting responses, and then the memory section. So if you're interested in this template, even if you're not someone who needs a content writer assistant, I think that this can be a good tool to kind of see what you can do with it as well. So I'm going to leave that in the chat below as well. So this is the free content writer assistant template. So next we're going to go into the Q&A. So I hope that this was helpful for you all and gives a really good starting point for how you might want to implement Notion AI into your own workspaces and also into sort of your personal workflow as well. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions and I can answer them. Can I set Claude as the default LLM agent for the writing AI agent? So if you want to specifically use Claude, I would recommend that you do it here. So right now it's on auto. So you would have to select this and you can keep that selected. I don't think that the agent would be able to change the settings that it has in the chat window itself. Besides the databases that it should reference. But that's a really good question. And let me know if you've tried it, as I personally haven't tried asking it in the instructions page, but that sounds very interesting. So let's go ahead and go to the next part, which is feel free to download freebies and more. So 40% discount code with code SCPT40 during checkout. Be sure to check out some Notion AI templates if you're interested. And you can also get started with Notion with some freebies, including the agent instructions template. I'm going to go ahead and link everything that I mentioned today in the chat, so you have everything. So here are all the links. Oh, guess my text is too long. So the Notion AI templates are here. And I think the rest I've actually shared. So yeah, they should all be there. Oh, and then the freebies. So be sure to check these out as well. And I also offer one-to-one coaching sessions and custom services, and each session includes a short free consultation. So feel free to come and chat with me if you're interested in that. I'm also going to link it in the chat here. And yeah, I'm really happy to help you out. Also, if you need help with how to implement your Notion agent into, for example, team workspaces, or you need advice on that, I'm more than happy to help as well. And if you have any questions or comments after this event is over, feel free to contact me at organizednotebook.info@gmail.com. And yeah, I'm always happy to help address any questions that you might have. Let's see. Someone asked, does the business plan cover all Notion AI features? So yeah, the business plan should cover Notion AI features completely. The only thing is that, as I showed in my settings here, so I'm on the business plan myself. So here you can see that this one, automatic transcript deletion, that is something that you need to upgrade for. But yeah, otherwise the business plan includes everything with AI. So I think that now the business plan is a much more all-around useful plan. Even though I use Claude also, like I don't feel that I have too many AI tools. I actually use both, and I'm really happy with that as well. So yeah. So yeah, feel free to ask me any further questions if you need any help at organizednotebook.info@gmail.com. Thank you so much for everyone for joining this event. I haven't done one of these in a while, so it was really fun to share about Notion AI with you all. And there's so many cool new updates, especially with Notion 3.0. So yeah, there was a lot to talk about. Feel free to share your experiences as well with how you're customizing your Notion agent. And yeah, I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the day and hope to see you all in a future event.